Hello, welcome to Talking Bottom. This is the Series 2 roundup, a sort of DVD feature episode, which is going to be a lot shorter. I was talking about things we've learned subsequently about Series 2 specifically, but all the bottom, really. I'm Matt Brooks.
I'm Paul Tanzer.
And I'm Ange Johnson.
Yeah, and this is where we basically wring a final bit of entertainment out of Series 2. But hopefully talk about things that we've discovered or learned since then, or feedback that we've got from people.
Since then, we've had Ed By as a guest on the show, of course.
Where I think we've probably discovered a lot of things that we didn't previously know. Just talking about Series 2 in general, I really enjoyed the series. I really enjoyed talking about it. The feedback we got from people, clearly there's still a lot of love for the show. Series 2 especially. There's a lot of talking points in various episodes. In terms of the show, Series 2 is where you get this sort of strong balancing act between the nihilism of Series 1 and the cartoon capery of Series 3.
I think it's hard to argue that this isn't the best series. I don't think anyone would say otherwise, really.
Yeah, they were really into the characters, into the performances. Everything about Series 2 was so very in the world of Bottom.
Yeah.
It had been perfectly executed, both on screen and in the script. I think they absolutely were comfortable in the characters.
So are there any characters that debut in Series 2? There's not, are there? Unless we count like Chief Inspector Grobbler, things like that. So yes.
There are one-off characters who appear, but there's no one that they have who then comes back subsequently, is there? Mm-hmm. There's actors who they bring back subsequently for little bits, but any recurring characters who are in this one who then come back in 3, I think already appeared in 1. So this is Spudgun, Hedgehog, Dickhead.
That's it. Oh, and the landlord.
Oh, Mr. Harrison. Yeah.
Can you miss him in Holy? So one bit, this isn't specific Series 2 stuff, a bit of news that one of my mates pointed out to me. There's a TV show, I think it's on Netflix, called History Roasts or something. It's basically, like the celebrity roast type stuff, but with historical figures who are long dead. So they have Joan of Arc, things like that. And Hitler is on there, and he's introduced as Adolf Elizabeth Hitler.
Oh, really?
That's just obviously a reference to Bottom. I'm not seeing it.
Do you know who writes the show?
No.
Okay. Oh, well.
But a Bottom fan probably.
Yeah.
Nice little nod.
I think the most exciting thing for us all was probably, as you guys said, interviewing Ed By. We were lucky enough, he was very kind to come down, granted us sort of 2 hours of his time. We just threw questions at him, some annoyingly fanboyish and nerdy, some a bit more general, but we were trying to add to the knowledge sphere of Bottom, try and find out things that people didn't know. We didn't want to just ask kind of like general things that are easily Googleable, and I really think he came through,
Yeah, he didn't shy away from any of them, even if he didn't know. He just sort of said, can't remember that.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating listening to so many of his stories. I'm sure there were more that we could have got out of him if we'd had more time.
Yeah.
But I think my favourite was probably the revelation that Rick, during the Gas Man episode and the fight between when Eddie's hitting with the frying pan and Rick's punching the gas man on the ground, that Rick was actually trying to trick the sound man by grabbing his hand and rubbing it. That's why that scene was so long.
I particularly love the story he told us about how the opening credits happened.
Oh, he just came out with that right at the end, unprompted. We didn't even have a question about the opening credits. I think we've seen it so many times, I don't even think about that anymore.
It's true. You just sort of take it for granted.
Yes.
And we were literally wrapping up.
Yeah.
And he just said, while we're here, let me tell you the story of the credits.
Absolutely thought that would have been a planned thing that they might not have necessarily written down every single, but they would have said, we'll sit on a bench and we'll do a little bit of a skit.
Yeah.
So last night, when I watched the episode I was watching last night, I timed the credits. So the credits come to 34 seconds. And it's interesting that Ed said his original sort of vision for the opening credits was that it was just literally going to be that sort of slow pullback shot where they're revealed at that sort of fake window.
I think he said that's what they wanted, wasn't it?
Right. And then when they looked at it, they said, Aid said, I don't think that's going to be enough. We should probably do something else. The fact they went and improvised
found
the rest
a bench,
of it.
And the bench is iconic.
Yeah, because when you think of the credits, I think you don't necessarily think of that pullback shot. You think of them on the bench, messing around, hitting each other, that kind of thing. And to find out that Rick disappearing bit wasn't they're done with a sort of an edit or a cut or anything. It was literally Rick just all of a sudden just leaping out of the bench behind a bus.
Just think, if that hadn't have happened, I mean them finding the bench, what would Rick Mayall's tribute thing have been?
You mean...
It would just been a plaque or something. It couldn't be at the bottom window or something. The bench is just such a good fit for the tribute to him.
Because when you
of that.
go there, obviously there's still a huge outpouring of people who go and visit and make pilgrimages to it. And actually, having been there, you do sort of think, why did they choose here to film it? It's in the middle of a traffic. It's just a traffic island where the bench is. Like, so it actually does make more sense that they literally just found it on the day rather than it was planned.
Maybe they didn't pay the fees to the location fee.
Hammersmith Council didn't get a location fee. Yeah. Whenever I pass there, there's always usually some ribbons tied to the bench, some flowers on it. Maybe a letter with a poem on it, so that kind of thing. And also, one of the main images that you often see now every year when, very sadly, the anniversary of Rick's death rolls around, is someone has screen grabbed the part of the opening credits when Eddie is looking round and Rick isn't there.
Missing,
and that's become a sort of slightly touching, heartfelt tribute to it. And as you're right, Matt, like if they hadn't done that, what would the focus of grief around Rick be?
The window or a flat somewhere, which that obviously is impossible.
Yeah, in terms of a location in Hammersmith,
statue erected for him.
There was at the time of Rick's death talk of there being a statue in his birth.
Yes.
Rick Mell was born in Harlow in Essex, but at the age of 3 he was moved with his family to Droitwich Spa in Worcestershire.
So he grew up there.
So he grew up round there and obviously has a lot of love for the Midlands.
Right, okay.
I think that's where the whole Kevin Turvey kind of Redditch kind of love comes from.
So something else that happened recently, we didn't win, but we found a eBay posting of a Rick Mell treasure trove of random weird stuff.
A lot of personal stuff and a lot of business showbiz stuff as well.
So loads of photos, some scripts, some like LPs of bad news, things like that. Well, have you got a list of what the stuff was? Actually?
Oh God,
we should go through that.
I can tell you that amongst the haul there was Rick's original gold disc from Living Doll the single that was released. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, as well as that, there was a load of scripts from Bottom and other shows. I think there were some paintings that Barbara had painted. Yeah, and there was a lot of
what's happened. Who owned all that? Why did they have that? It was in a lockup, something like there's something behind the scenes there that's happened. So someone's got that and now he's passing it on.
You've got to think it was either given away in some sort of charity kind of auction or something at one point, or that literally they've had a clear out in like Nintendo Towers, as Rick used to call it, right?
I think that either they or someone in the family had taken possession of this stuff and had it in storage, and a bit like in the show Storage Wars, maybe the bill on it hadn't been paid, so therefore the company that owns the storage unit takes possession of all the things in there, and then what they do is they flog them off in an auction. And in this instance, usually if you sell off a job lot of stuff, it doesn't go for very much because most of it's sort of tatty junk. In this instance, someone had a look through it, saw and twigged that it was a load of Rick Mell memorabilia, and made sure that they used the appropriate words on their eBay listing, and that enabled them to flog it for 2,000.
Well, hang on. I was going to say, the three of us all went in, and with a limit of £1,000 as high as we were going to go.
Collectively, we were like, we can push to that.
I think in total it went for something like 2,800.
The guy that won it then went and sold some stuff individually.
Yeah, the guy that won it, he's broken it up into individual bits. But he posted things like the gold disc on eBay for 1,500, and scripts he put them on to be bid upon, and photos he's put them on as well. So I think he either is making or will make his money back.
And we've got some of them. We've got some of the original scripts.
One of which was Culture, and very pleased to be owning that. Another one we got was episode 3 of series 1,
which is called Bottom Apocalypse.
But originally,
it's in that contest series 3. It's episode 4, isn't it?
Oh right, well on the front of the script it says episode 3. So
well, that'll be because of the mix up from contest was meant to be 1, wasn't it? But then put contest out.
Okay,
so there we go.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. That was episode 3. But the reason I made that mistake is because on the front of the script that we got is the title Bottom, episode 3, The Death Bottom. That was the working title for Apocalypse. The title of it is The Death Bottom. It begins in the fairground, starts in fairground. Eddie and Richie are having a fun day out. They are at the shooting gallery.
It starts at the fairground.
That's what it says.
Okay.
Page 1, scene 1, fairground. Starts in fairground. Eddie and Richie are having a fun day out. They are at the shooting gallery. Eddie is twirling the rifle round and round on his finger. and shooting at all the prizes instead of the targets. Richie is in a fabulous mood. There's Richie's line, blaze away, Eddie, blaze away. That's all pretty much as it was filmed. Stuffs his money back, but then...
Does he say that he's inherited money from...
All right, I'll do the line. Blaze away and enjoy yourself, Eddie. We deserve a little celebration. Auntie Olga's dead at last. 600 smackers to do whatever we like with. 300 right here, waving it about, and 300 more on top of the bathroom cabinet where nobody else will find
That's
it.
exactly as it is. That's interesting because that line sets up all the stuff that you understand. Oh, someone's died, he's inherited money. But I guess that was a pickup then, or an additional stuff.
They added
They
a
obviously
lot.
decided it'd be much more fun to have him finding out she's died on the phone. Yeah.
So the next bit is prick up all over the fairground. Richie stuffs the money back into his wallet. Richie stuffs the money into his wallet, which he then stuffs into his back trouser pocket. It is immediately stolen. The man from the shooting gallery comes up to Eddie. That's £5 you owe me for your shots to date. £5. Yeah. I haven't got £5. Don't worry, Eddie, I'll get this. Oh, I love you Romany types with your legendary campfire hospitality and your quaint insistence on settling bills immediately. Realises his wallet's gone.
And, so what I want to know is the Jippo line, is that there?
The next line is, you bastard Jippos, someone swiped me wallet.
Okay.
Yeah, likely story. Come on, you owe me £5.
5? That's so odd, isn't it? It doesn't sound right at all.
Didn't you hear what I said? I've just lost £300, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was you that stole it, you swarthy thieving nomad. Either you or one of your slippery deformed half-brothers.
That's all the same, isn't it?
Yes, I know what you jippos get up to when the lights go out. Extended family, it's just another word for a sexual free-for-all. Well, you're not in Romania now, Butler. I'm going to go get the police. He makes to go. The man picks up a gun and turns it on Richie. Richie immediately sticks his hands up. You're not going anywhere until I get my £5. And by the way, I'm from Stepney. Eddie, hang on. Look, give me one more shot at getting the £5 star prize and we'll make it double or quits. And apropos of nothing, I'm from Hammersmith. Man, all right then, Eddie. Okie dokie, here we go. Good luck, Eddie. Eddie takes careful aim, then shoots the man in the eye and shouts, "Run like buggery!"
Nice.
Big burly men appear from nowhere, but in the confusion that follows Eddie and Richie, they nip into a gypsy tent marked Brenda the Ballgazer.
That was always there
Yeah.
in the first draft. So is this a first draft, do you think?
You know what? I don't think it was. I think this is probably what they had as they were going into rehearsals. You know.
Okay. Although that works, that sets up everything you need to know for the episode. Tonally, that's like manic right at the start. So maybe that's a more gentle way of easing in, finding out that and seeing the family life. Or just alluding to more of the family life. His weird upbringing that you hear little bits and pieces of, you know?
It's an interesting sort of look into their process, isn't it? That if that was their original beginning for the episode, at some point they've maybe sat down for the read-through, they've shown it to Ed directing it, someone somewhere has gone, we need something else before the actual fairground. Okay, what do? We'll put a scene that introduces the death of her and the getting of the money and that kind of thing.
In general, sitcoms will start with the characters where you're familiar with them.
Right, okay.
Where you're used to seeing them.
Yeah.
So I also wonder whether maybe they decided to start in the flat and then have the fairground. Because it's a location in a half-hour show, like generally speaking, they'll always go on a journey and you'll start where they always are and they'll finish where they always are.
It's interesting you say that because the only 2 episodes I can think where they don't start in the flat are the only 2 episodes where the entire episode takes place in that location. There's no other episode that starts, for instance, in the Lamb and Flag and then goes to the pub or anything.
Oh, actually, there's Parade as well.
Yeah.
That starts in the police lineup.
You bastard!
Yeah, okay,
all right.
But that's not in the flat at all, is it?
You're right. That one, there's no flat. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting, the process that obviously they've gone through in writing it, because that's a great energetic start.
Yeah.
And all you do need to know is, they've inherited some money from Auntie Olga, who's dead at last. But it's so it's a weird thing to imagine that they wouldn't have had that phone conversation with, have you checked the body yet? And all of the fun that they have with that, and Eddie spreading the bills about strategically. That's one of the best scenes in Apocalypse.
It's a really strong opening to an episode, isn't it? Sets it up really well. Lots of good gags, good performances, and it's strange to think that we might never have had that scene in the episode at all.
Really interesting, but that's series 1. This is the series 2 roundup. What can we talk about series 2 that we've learned? I don't think we've really got much. This episode is a bit of filler.
Well, so one thing I did want to say to both you guys, actually, points that I really did genuinely enjoy through series 2 was, Angela, your comparisons of Bottom to Steptoe and Son. I did find that very interesting, and it sort of made me go away and look at Steptoe and Son a bit closer, and things like the Galton and Simpson shows that happen and those kind of things, just to try and get just to see if there's any sort of connections I can make between the two. I think Aid kind of alluded to these in interviews he did recently, and Matt separately. I genuinely found the Waiting for Godot Beckett comparisons really interesting. Yeah.
And we really enjoy all your questions, Paul.
Thank you very much.
No, I absolutely agree. The Waiting for Godot link with Bottom and looking at Beckett, because none of us are experts on Beckett. So it's definitely good to explore the influences that Rick and Aid have gone through. And obviously we'll never live that because we don't have the same knowledge. But I love watching Steptoe and Son and thinking about how they must have watched that when they were younger and that influenced them. And I absolutely love Steptoe and Son as much as I love Bottom in some ways. I mean, Bottom is my favourite because that's my childhood show. But when you then go back and see how the British humour's kind of evolved, I mean, I love Python and so many shows that went before I was born. And I hate it when people say, I wasn't alive then, why would I be interested in so many things? And it's like, well, no, there's a journey that you go on.
Well, people say that about the Beatles.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't live there, so I won't listen.
There was an excitement sort of growing up, discovering things that had gone before that you kind of think like, at the time you feel like, oh, no one else knows about this. And then you realise, oh no, wait, the rest of the world does know about the Beatles and Fawlty Towers and Monty Python.
I'm just discovering it.
Yeah,
and what's lovely is, I have to say, obviously Bottom, it's nearly 30 years old.
Yeah.
And there are kids now that are discovering Bottom in the same way that we discovered it, even though it was of our time.
Yeah.
And parents introducing their kids to Bottom, and I've often said if I ever have kids and they don't like Rick Mayall, then I will have them adopted. I will. I don't think I could get on with my kids if they didn't have the same humour as me. And that's why, of course, you do, because your parents show you the shows that they loved, and you should share a sense of humour if you're brought up on that. It's so important to show kids good comedy from a young age.
My mum told me about Young Ones actually because I was already into Bottoms. Oh, we should watch this then.
Yeah.
So show your kids Bottom.
Yeah, and the TV show. But I see it on a lot of the Facebook kind of fan groups, people showing, like, there was one, I mean, I have no idea who it was, but it was like a little kid in the cupboard. And they were just like having a laugh about that, and like it's just so delightful that it's like a 7-year-old kid like showing him in the cupboard or whatever from upstairs, and all that kind of fun. Apparently kids have been like told off by teachers for quoting Bottom in the classroom, and
really,
I got grounded for quoting Bottom to my friend and was banned from seeing her and things like that. Like I love that there's still anarchy running through the veins of so many people that watch Bottom or the Young Ones or any of Rick or Aid shows.
I genuinely, at secondary school, got bollocked by a teacher because, and I only said this because I was trying to make my friend laugh, but I told the teacher, "You are funnier than Jonathan Ross," and that went down like a shit sandwich.
I bet it did.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just nicking a line from the previous night, you know.
It was brand new then, was it?
Well, you know what? Well, what series was that?
2.
Yeah, 92. Yes, that would have been very recent. Yeah.
I think we're scraping the barrel here a bit, aren't we? Have we got any more? Let's go through some emails.
Oh yes, we've had loads of fan mail.
All right, so here's a couple of emails. Here's one from Edward Thomas. Hi there. First and foremost, thank you so much for the podcast. Wasn't sure exactly how entertaining an episode-by-episode analysis of a comedy series would be, but I absolutely love your approach. A great dynamic between the three of you, with a lot of insight and humour on your own. Have left you a 5-star review on iTunes. Secondly, your episode on gas does not seem to be playable either on iTunes or when downloaded off of it. Thank you so much. Well, I'm pleased to say we've since fixed that download problem, and anyone else listening should definitely leave us 5 stars on iTunes.
Okay.
Here's another uplifting email. Hi guys, found the podcast this week and love it. Listen to nothing else in my car all week, driving around in stitches. Anyway, inspired to look at some more detail behind Bottom, I noticed there was a 2.5-year gap between the airing of episodes 5 and 6 in Series 2. In fact, Bottom Sow didn't actually air until after the end of Series 3. I was only 10 at the time, but can't remember why, but it may be something worth exploring and discussing in the Series 2 podcast. Well, I'm very glad to say we did discuss it, and it's because a woman was horribly murdered on Wimbledon Common. Glad to clear that up. Don't think Rick or Aid did it, but
the murder.
Yeah.
No.
They weren't culpable in any way.
I'm sure they've murdered no one. Or actually, maybe Aid murdered Rick. Right, here's another email. This is from a guy called Jack Bond. Hi guys, really enjoy the podcast and thanks for making them. The commercial breaks you do are a nice touch. Just a quick query. You say in Burglary that there's a slightly racist bit. Which bit are you referring to? Well, cheers, Jack. That the bit we're talking about is when Eddie says, do your worst, you slightly-eyed fiend. I'll never talk. You know, it's like a prisoner of war thing from World War II is what he's alluding to.
The word
mention
slanty-eyed
Yeah,
fiend.
that's what they're
Yeah.
describing, the shape of an eye of a person of a different race.
We had a nice email from David Joseph who said, "Love the podcast. Literally cannot express my love for what you Foxy Stoats are doing. Keep up the good work with insightful knowledge and observation. As a lifelong Bottom fan, it's refreshing to find out some areas of Bottom that I hadn't noticed before, along with all the further background knowledge on the show." So some people enjoy listening to our knowledge and overanalyzing it to fuck, don't they?
Yeah, sure. There's another email from Kim Brooks. Oh, that's my mother's name. That's weird. It's Matt, your dad's died. That's weird. I don't understand that. Okay, well, thank you for the email, and we'll thanks for the podcast.
One here from Claire McNaughton. I'm a huge Bottom fan, so I'm loving the podcast. Was just wondering if you're going to do the Bottom live shows and the movie.
Fucking hell! Every time, right? Yeah. Yes. That's for some. We're asked this all the time. The first episode opened with saying we're going to do every bloody episode.
Sorry, the next one is from Rick Grimes. Hi, Bottoms.
Rick Grimes, is that a real name? You think that's a pseudonym?
I think so. Enjoying your podcast very much so. Will you be doing a Guest House Paradiso special?
Yes, we will. Yes, we're doing we're going to do things that aren't Bottom as well.
We're
Also,
going to do it all in order.
Yeah.
Also, one of you, wonder which one, just compared Richie to an idiot Brexit racist or something along those lines. Tongue in cheek, I'm sure, but let's not get political. You'll alienate your law-abiding, equally promoting, Brexiteering, knuckle-dragging, skinhead racist listeners, etc., etc. I added those last bits.
I see. Yeah. That's the thing. That's really. I mean, the thing is, Rick and Aid were political, and it's a send-up of things. So to say that Bottom's not political is you're missing the point a bit, or you're missing a lot of subtext. I think if you don't see the politics in it, there is politics in it. Like you feel sorry for Richie more because he's sad a lot, but then any time he's given some sort of opportunity to better his life, he fucks it up himself, and like he's deeply racist, classist, sexist, and Eddie is a violent drunk. They're not nice people, but it's their characters. It's fine, but characters don't have to be nice people.
Again, Ed Blythe had some great stories about Alan Yentob and how it was commissioned and all that kind of thing. The story about how they cut out Rick's premature ejaculation when Helen Lederer was in front of him. We just had to cut back and make it obvious that he'd come in his pants.
That was a
great
taste,
story.
That was a taste thing then. Like what's it? The practice of standards. What's the term?
Just the censor had said that wasn't appropriate.
It's alluded
even
to
after
because
the
he has
watershed.
still come, hasn't he? Because he says, it's not specifically shown. Well, it wouldn't have had a close up of his belly.
They obviously cut out something that very obviously
him making a Rick noise and face.
It would have been all in the face, wouldn't it? It would have been the way he was playing it.
Could he aim that high?
The curling of the lip,
But he's come in his pants because he says, "I think I need to change my pajama bottoms," doesn't he? So it's very obvious what's happened, but not visually.
Well, when I was little, I thought he'd shit himself from fear.
Oh, right, okay. What else have we got on the emails?
We've got a lovely email from Ian Webster. He says, "Hey guys, I've really been enjoying your Bottom podcast on Spotify, and while I can't see you, I'm sure you all have smashing blouses on."
Hey.
Oh, we've never had that quoted before nor since.
Oh man, we're being cunts to everyone.
We are, aren't we? Yeah. I'm listening to your podcast about Sout, and you're criticising the set design. There have been some gripes about props and things looking fake, and there's a little thing that I think you're all neglecting to take into account, and that is that it's only been since the advent of digital broadcast and everyone having HD TVs and all the programmes being remastered that you'd notice all this stuff.
No.
On old CRT TVs with bad contrast and sometimes bad reception, plus a lot of the episodes watched on VHS, you wouldn't notice the crapness of the sets. I just thought I'd point that out.
Okay, I disagree with that because
I see his point, but
of course you disagree with that.
The shows weren't shot on HD cameras because HD cameras didn't exist at the time. So therefore, it's not like the cameras were 4K quality and now the thing we're viewing them through is only just catching up.
So, but they shot on video or film? Because
I think TV would be video.
But like American TV shows, they'd have like studio cameras, but they'd be running film through them.
Oh really?
Still.
Okay.
So I think, but BBC do video. I don't know. It's a fair point of the television quality being a bit better. Maybe there's certain things we're maybe noticing now, just being able to pause things and going back freeze frames and stuff. When you used to pause them and VHS, you know, they'd have all that static
it'd be dancing
snow
around,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not quite, so, you know, but this is what this podcast is about, talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not slagging it off.
Wanking was made a lot easier by the invention of DVDs, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
rather than
Like
getting
Eurotrash. We had to pause the
What were
episode
you
of
doing with your
Eurotrash.
DVDs?
Yeah. Well, you get the hole in the middle of the DVD.
Yeah,
you slip
just
it
the
through
right
and
size was it to
spin
slip through.
Well, you know,
Brilliant.
I had to pad it up with a few more other things, so it was too big.
Well, anyway, thanks, Ian. I have to say, I've never really been bothered by the fake looking props or anything because it is a comedy show.
Yeah.
And that adds to the charm.
We
for me.
were only criticising them in an affectionate way, anyway.
It's because we've got, as you say, we're talking bottom,
Okay.
talking arse at the moment.
Sure.
Ed also mentioned and kind of confirmed that there was a crossover in terms of casting between Bottom and Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
He and Aid and Rick all cast Bottom. They didn't get a casting director or anything, and so they obviously had Robert Llewellyn, Lee Corns and Paul Bradley on the casting couch themselves.
Now, I'm sure you guys agree, I could have quite happily spent twice as long talking to Ed By about Red Dwarf as well.
Yes.
Another show that I grew up loving. So to have had the guy who directed two of your favourite shows was fantastic.
We weren't too sure in the burglar episode as to whether they'd actually got the burglar on the roof or how they'd done this, sellotape.
Yeah.
And it was that they'd actually strapped a guy up there.
Yeah, obviously not with sellotape, but they
with like some kind of rig.
Yeah, they built a section of ceiling and harnessed him up to it, covered him in fake sellotape.
Because I thought that looked very genuinely like someone strapped to a ceiling, and you guys were like, nah, they'll have had him on the floor, or they'll have his head poking out from something and it'll look like it's the ceiling. It's like, no,
That's what they did.
We put him on the ceiling. They were around it in the 90s.
There was one thing that occurred to me about the show through this series, and this does apply to all three series.
Okay.
Which is Richie related. And if you guys have already figured this out, then you're way ahead of me. But it just suddenly dawned on me like a kind of bolt of lightning. You know, Richie always has his belt missing through a loop at the front.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because I worked out why it is, at least why I think it is.
No.
I've not
I
ever
don't
considered
think
why it is, other than that he hastily put it through and
Lay it out.
I think it's missing at the front, so it's through the back ones to keep his trousers up, but at the front it's so he can put his hand down his trousers easier and have a little jostle. I
Yeah.
think it's a little thing about him wanking.
Maybe.
actually practical.
Yeah.
Maybe. Whereas he kind of pulls it up over the pants, isn't it? So the belt's over the pants as well.
And so the front of the trousers of the jeans are always like a bit loose, so he could get his hand down there. What do you think?
I think that could be a very, very astute observation.
Now, but I wasn't sure. Am I like late to the party with this? Am I going to say this and you guys go, well, obviously, you know?
Well, that makes sense.
Okay.
That's nice. There's, you know, having little character details in costume. I think that's not something odd that's beyond them at all. I think it could very possibly be true. And also, it's a visual thing of seeing. You know, you don't see the back more, you see the front. But yeah, no, I like that theory. That it makes sense. It's very in character.
Makes sense when you think about it, doesn't it?
Sure. So we don't know the date, but we'll be back later this year, most likely, for Series 3 of Talking Bottom, where we'll be talking about Series 3 of Bottom. And then we'll do the live ones and the film and other stuff.
We've already done the live.
We've done live one, but we haven't done... There's 5 live ones, so we've got 2 to 5.
Are we doing the live shows and the film?
Nah.
Okay. Anyway, hope you enjoyed Series 2, and we'll be back soon with Series 3.
And if you've got any more emails and questions that you want read out months and months and months later, please email us or at us, whatever. You know, we're at Talking Bottom on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and our email is 11maffickingparade@gmail.com. That's their address. It's a nice little reference.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.